Or Section 3, sampling. Type of the sample. The sample is important with the naive to determine the quantity of the petroleum product. The sample with a small amount of the petroleum represented with the whole product with the sample types are given below the top of the sample with the taken from the bottom over the breaker sample within 6 inches below the product surface. Upper sample is taken from the bottom over the breaker sample the middle over the top of the third of the product with the middle over the middle sample is taken from the bottom of the breaker sample the middle of the product. Lower sample is taken from the bottle and breaker sample the middle over the bottom of the third product. Bottom sample is taken from the bacon bomb thief sampler for the material of the product over the bottom of the tank. All levels, any of the all levels are taken with the submerging of the closed valve of the breaker sample the clove of the possible with the bottom of the tank of the container. The sampler is open and ready with the uniform rate is thrown at 75 to 85% full when it comes to the out of the liquid spot. A spot sample is taken in a specific place in the tank. Composite sample combines individual sample to represent the bulk with which they were taken. These samples are single tank and multiple tank composite samples. Single tank composites. A single tank composite blend with the upper, middle, and lower sample. The content of the tank of the blend is equals 3 parts sample. The tank with a uniform cross section. Upright cylinder tank has uniform cross section blend with a horizontal cylindrical tank consisting of a proportion of the 3 samples shown in Figure 3-4. Middle tank composite. Middle tank composite sample the blend and signal all levels of sample. The tank with the tanker barge compartments containing the same product. The sample consists of the parts portion of the volume product of each compartment sampled. Outlet. The outlet sample is taken from the bottle of the breaker sample at the level of the tank outlet, which is fixed in a swinging line drain. Sample is taken with the draw off of the discharge valve. The continuous sample is one taken from the pipeline with the product with the valve to correct slowly, and the sampler during the entire flow time represented the stream of product during the period of sampling. Figure 3-4 shows sampling instruction horizontal cylindrical tanks, liquid depth of the percent and diameter, and those drop in 10-degree increments. Here's sample leveling percent diameter above the bottom, upper, middle, and lower. Composite sample the proportion in parts upper, middle, and lower. Alright, type of samplers. There's several different types of samplers. Liquid petroleum sample. They give it below the weighted baker. The weighted baker sample. The figure 323. The copper bottle permanently attached to the lead bait with the drop cord with the brass coated with the chain connected to the stopper of the samplers can be opened while anywhere beneath the surface of the product with the sampler is taken upper and middle or lower all levels of sample the petroleum products at more than 60 psi read vapor pressure used to take the sample of the tank of the cars, tank vehicles, barge and ship tanks and shore storage tanks. Bank bottom if they may be modified. If bank bomb thief may be modified as shown in Figure 324, 327 to speed up the operation state of the product and reduce the health hazards. A tubular tank thief or a tussler thief. Tubular tank reef or the tussler thief. Figure 325, page 327 at the bottom of the sampler suited with having a heavy bottom sample of the storage tank. Change the opening of the sampler at the dining for the tank. Weighted bottle plug. The weighted bottle plug sample. Figure 327, the page 328. There's a glass bottle seated in the tie of the metal holder. Sample is used the same way weighted baker sample. Just drop cord, handle, cork, and then your copper casing, lead base. That's a weighted breaker sample. You have the trip cord with the drop cord valve, cylinder, and a plunger. That is your bacon bomb thief. Your bottom sediment and water gauge, single chain trip. Slider open, that's your tubular tank thief, and then you have drop cord, cork, gas bottle, lead casing, weighted bottle, plug sampler. Alright, your sample size. Samples vary with the product type of this type of the required of the rules. Liquid sample shown 1 gallon semi-solid samples should be 5 pounds. Special samples with the testing supercharged method should be at least 5 gallons unless otherwise specified. A 5-gallon sample should be submitted with the jet fuels are tested thermal stability. Alright, procedure and precaution. ASTM method D4D57, the specific information standard sampling procedure for the taken sample of the valve of the procedure. ASTM manual precautions listed below. Make sure all sampling equipment containers are clean and dry and free of the fibrous material. Rinse sampling for the container for the portion product being sampled. This makes sure that the product is not contaminated. Previous material rinses all cans to remove all soldering flux. Clean samples immediately after use. Store them in a place where they can stay clean until they are used again. We're taking continuous sample to draw enough product with the sample connection to display all of the product in the sample line fittings. Do not take sample of the storage tank with the clean out lines with water to draw off bleeder valves, hoses. Those samples are non-representative of the product in the tank. The surface station that does not have a manhole sampling hatch, take a sample from the surface hose and after discharge of the volume of the product about 2 times the capacity of the hose. Do not fill any sample container of 90% of the capacity. If the container is filled with the capacity, it may leak because of the thermal expansion of the product. Tightly close all sample containers immediately after they are filled. Do not use seal, wax, paraffin, rubber gaskets, pressure-sensitive tape, other similar material with the sealed containers. Create light sample containers well as so that they will withstand shipment. Put gasoline, jet fuel, kerosene sample to clean, dry cans, brown bottles to protect them from direct sunlight. Carefully handle sample of the gasoline, jet fuel with require the vapor to pressure test to cool the samples. If possible, prevent loss of light with a volatile material to try to keep all liquid fuel sampled at temperature between 32 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit to help preserve the product characteristics. Collection aviation fuels, sample the glass bottles if they are submitted with the water sediment test of the local laboratory. Put the sample of the brown glass bottle with clear glass bottles with covers. Some of such bottles prevent color, dye precipitation, which causes exposure to the sunlight. Submit 1 gallon of approved metal sample container for gasoline aviation, which is shipped in military commercial activity. Use only sample containers that have rinsed the petroleum. Either sediment test, rinse these sample containers over the product and be sampled prior to actual sample. Sample identification. Each petroleum sample is shipped to the petroleum laboratory. Analysis must have a completed sample tag securely attached. Tag is DA Form 1804, Figure 27 of page 32. Also, informal record log must be maintained as all samples sent to the petroleum laboratory. When the sample is packaged product, all the markings on the container should be copied on the sample tag. Sample liquid packaged petroleum lubricants and containers that are less than 5 gallons should be sent to the laboratory. Original containers. Sample applies to semi-solid containers less than 35 pounds. And trees for the sample tag should be typewritten in pencil. Do not use ink because ink will run in if the fuel is spilled on the tag. Alright, quality surveillance consideration. Fuel laboratory test before the government accepts it to make sure of the specification must clean and the dry fuel clean with a free span suspended sediment emulsion with the fuel with the dry with the container with the undissolved the water. Cleaning dry fuel with a bright appearance without cloud or haze or visible solids. Title sample log. The sample log should be maintained the track quality surveillance of the storage tank facility with the refueling site of the vehicle with the bulk delivery. Sample log should contain the dated sample, the name of the person taking the sample, the source, and the type of the sample, the date of the sample, the result received, the result of the removal block. Alright, contamination type. The contamination type must be solid form, matter-free, or emulsified water, mixed fuels, or grade of fuel of all of these. These type of contaminations are given below. Foreign material can either enter the fuel with a number of sources such as the tank, pipe, hoses, and pumps, also from people. Foreign material found must often consist of bits of rust, paint, metal, rubber, inline, dust, sand, rust, probably with the most common of these sediments, general term applied with a solid contaminant. Water is one of the most common contaminants. It has entered through the leak of the condensation, dissolve the water like vaporized moisture in the air. Frozen salt water may be present in the small droplets produce the clouded effect with large droplets clinging to the side of the container. Very large amounts of the element over the bottom of the separate layer of the emulsion. Emulsions usually occur if the fuel droplets become suspended in the water. They happen to be agitated with the presence of the water. When it passes through the pump, the heavier the fuel, the longer the emulsion may last. Alright, mixed fuels, or grades. Mixed fuels and grades of the fuels over the years. Any form of the contamination, different kind of the fuel must be stored in a separate tank for the pump and one at a time. With the fuel must mix in with the line filter separated pump for fuelers. Make sure for the mark all systems fixed and mobile to show the type of fuel each of the handled at a time. Mixed fuels and grades are hard to detect without testing. Only people with great deal of experience know slight changes in color or order. Your field tests and contamination are some of the ways to check for the product with contamination in the field of the product, temperature for the gravity, the visual check with a particular contamination by color, and aqua glow test also provides a clues to product contamination. These tests are given below. Temperature and gravity. Shipment of gear arrive with a Class 3 facility with a temperature for the API gravity of the product. To determine the API gravity of the product, gravity indicates uniform, full reliability of the quality. If the API gravity is out of range of the expected product with a difference at the same temperature greater than 1/2 degree, do not unload the product until the laboratory test may be contaminated. Visual checks. Local the product carefully with each time of the transport loaded and unloaded. Proper color and the fuel indicate freshness, the uniformity of the non-quality. When the colors off do not necessarily mean that the product is off the specification. However, the show of contamination deterioration may fit merit for investigation. If the fuel is cloudy and hazy, probably contains undissolved water. Particle contamination. Particulated contamination may determine by the color method of field environment. Samples are checked with a color stamp to determine the product is suitable for use. This method does not replace the requirement of the active filter separators checked every 30 days by the laboratory. Aquaglow measure for the parts per million. Test results of the excess of 10 parts per million indicate aviation fuel is not suitable for Army or Air Force use. Aviation fuel with the Navy, Marine Corps equipment that may not be exceed 5 parts per million. Alright, laboratory tests. Laboratory tests ensure fuels meet the specification, identify unknown product, but detect contamination. Very unfavorable field tests provide the basis for the disposition of unacceptable fuel. Laboratory tests include, but are not limited to, the distillation, gravity, corrosion, water tolerance, particular material, particulated material, freezing point, vapor pressure, gum content, tetraethyl, lead, sulfur. Fuels must be tested when in the laboratory when requested by Petroleum Office. The quality of the question that cannot be classified. Filter and separators first place in service after the filter elements have been changed every month after that. Aviation gasoline jet fuel has been above ground for the ground storage for 30 days without additional fresh stock. In climates with temperature of 90 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, the fuel must be above ground and underground storage in 90 days for 90 days without additional fresh stock. In climates with temperature lower than 90 degrees. If determined the aviation fuel must be contaminated, commingled with the samples submitted to them, and the temperature for the analysis. Do not use suspected fuel unless the laboratory tests prove it's unusable. As usable. Commercial deliveries, bulk fuel. Receive a sample of recording in accordance with the AR 710-2 and Appendix C of the D pamphlet 7DA pamphlet 710-2-1, Table 12.3 and 12.4. Additional requirement detailed military handbook, military handbook 200, Table 3. Alright, Section 4, Petroleum Quality Maintenance. Testing.